So I'm here with David Allen and Gary Bagstaff in this format representing the British Signographic Association, where David is the president and Gary is our new vice president. I think perhaps if we could start, David, if you could introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you and your business and your role in the association.
So I'm obviously David Allen. I have a company called Allen Signs, which is based in Lincolnshire, which was originally set up by my parents. We're approaching 60 years old now. Next year will be our 60th anniversary, and I'll have been in the business 40 years. And we do pretty well any type of visual media that you can think of that most customers would ask for. And we started off as a traditional sign writing business, and then that's gone, and obviously we're now fully into the digital age and every type of commodity that you can think of. I joined we've been a member of the British Sign Association, or the Master Sign Makers Association as it was, since the 70s, and I actually came onto the technical committee, I'm thinking about 1990-ish, and from that point, obviously I kind of sat in the background for quite a long while, but then obviously joined the board a few years ago, and then ended up being strong-armed into the position of taking a vice presidency job, which is what I've now done to Gary. So, and I've been very pleased to be involved in the association, because it's an industry that's given me a lot, so it's an opportunity for me to put something back.
Can you remember why Allen Signs, all the way back in the 70s, decided to join the association?
We were approached by a gentleman called Reg Green, who greens the sign makers in Hull. And he came to my dad and basically said, if you're a serious sign company, you need to be a member. But you have to be vetted first. We don't just take anybody, but if you want to be serious about it, you need to join. And he joined, and obviously the rest is history. It was, as I say, it was the Master Sign Makers Association when we first got involved, and we've stayed members ever since. So my dad always valued the idea that if he had a trade association behind him, it kind of sent a signal out that he was serious about what he was doing, and holding a high standard was something he was always very keen on. So it really didn't take any thinking about when he was approached.
Is that a philosophy that you think is still in the industry, or in most industries actually, or is it something that maybe is a bit diluted in recent years?
I think certain sign companies will say that it is, and I think they're probably, I'm not going to say, the ones that value it are the ones that really want to do decent work and work to a high standard. I mean, yes, there's lots of sign companies out there that aren't members that do good work, but I think if you have the weight of a trade association behind you, part of the community, I'm sure Gary would agree, it's you've got that.
Let's talk to Gary, because it's a slightly different organisation, really, which gives a nice comparison. Tell us a bit about yourself and your company, Gary.
Yeah, so I started Source in 2010 following redundancy. So started it at home with a 610 wide plotter from the kitchen table, and sort of grown it from there, really. So we're nowhere near as established as Allen Signs, but do similar work, sort of a wide variety of signage, vehicle graphics, sort of basic exhibition stands, and all the sort of weird and wonderful stuff that we get asked to do in between that. We're a team of 12. In terms of why I got into the industry, or why I got involved with the BSGA or the ISA as it was, I think was because we'd been invited to a few of the events and the awards, and I was impressed with the sort of size and the scale, and I was in awe of the other members, really, and looked up to the other members and the association, and felt like I wanted to be part of that, and push myself and my business to get to the levels of some of these other businesses. So it was seen as something that made me proud then to be part of the association, and as David said, sort of try and show that we are a quality outfit and that quality matters to us.
The sort of aspirational. I guess traditionally the association will have been the larger, sort of well-established sign makers, but I think the market now is there's a lot more smaller people out there, almost one-man bands or small businesses. Can they still get the same sort of benefits, really, of being part of an association? Your thoughts on that?
I think, as you said, most of our industry now is sort of less than 10 employees, I would say. Most maybe 1 to 5 sort of staff size. So there's definitely a lot that the association offers to businesses of that size, and we're doing a lot more now to add even more to that. So that is our sort of target audience as such as an association, and we know that our numbers are made up of businesses of that size, and we're going to do everything we can to help and support.
Okay. Maybe we'll come to that in a bit more detail in a bit. Can we just briefly talk about what's happened recently with the rebranding back to the BSGA? And that's something that's kind of going through at the moment. David, do you want to explain a little bit about how that's come about and where we go from here?
Well, I think when we obviously decided to partner with ISA originally, which seems like a lifetime ago, in sort of 2019, it was sort of sorted. I think we could see that we perhaps needed the scope of a bigger organization to sort of help us leverage some of our knowledge and theirs. But obviously various things have happened since then, and the world looks a slightly different place now. And I think both ISA and us as now the BSGA kind of figured that we were better off if we both sort of concentrated on our own areas. But we've agreed, obviously, that we will still collaborate, because we're collaborating a lot more with UK-based trade associations. And so it was kind of mutually agreed that, we would go back to being called the British Sign and Graphics Association. It felt like the right thing to do. I think they sort of realised that, they've enough to service their own members. And obviously when you look at the American market compared to our market, it is different. But there are some common things. So where in the future, what we're hopefully going to be able to do is work together in the things that we think will be advantageous to our members. We will hopefully be able to share in. So as we've started the process, obviously with the change of the logo, but as we go on, Gary and I have got ideas as to other things that we want to do, and we'll focus that more. We'll be able to do that better, because obviously we've only got our own market to think about. We haven't got to think about what our American colleagues would want to do.
Well, it does seem to make a lot of sense. So in terms of the BSGA as it is now, are you able to share some of the sort of the mission and the vision going forward? Whether it's probably changed a huge amount, but what is the sort of message of who you are and what you're about?
Are you taking that on, Gary, or do you want me to do it?
Maybe we share it. Yeah. For me, what we're about now is supporting sign makers with day-to-day challenges, helping them get the most out of their membership, working with our trade partners, to get them the most out of their membership as well, because they pay money, they want something for that. And I guess to improve the knowledge of our members and of the wider industry in terms of what quality looks like, and safety features, environmental impact of our industry, and all those things, and just sharing the knowledge that our board has got and our members have got, with each other, to improve the industry as a whole.
I think it's like a double-edged sword as well, because if we can increase awareness of the association to people who buy signage, then they will start to look for our badge as a mark of somebody that's got access to the right training, the right knowledge, the right information. which then hopefully will drive business to those that are members, but obviously encourage others that aren't to get involved as well. So to be able to do that, we are going to look at different initiatives that we can do, that we can put under our umbrella, which will give a confidence to anybody who pays their membership fee that, we've got some resources there that they can tap into. And I don't just mean the technical side of things, but it's the other things that we all need as a day-to-day running a business.
Is there some specific examples you can talk about? Talk about day-to-day running, so that's just sort of accounting and marketing and those sort of things. Can you support there?
Yeah, it's something that David and I have talked about. So for me, most small sign makers know how to make a sign, or should know how to make a sign. They should know how to operate their machinery and fit general day-to-day stuff. So I think we're here to help with the things that are a little bit out of the ordinary for them. If they get, a very sort of specific specialist project and they're a little bit unsure about how to manage that, we're here to help. Ask us those questions. But then besides that, I think something we may look to help with going forward is general business sort of management and running of a small business, staffing issues, recruitment, costings, accountancy, insurance, all those things that somebody that's maybe worked for another sign company for a number of years and learned their skill, they've then set up their own business, but they're not so, familiar with all the other aspects of running a business. I think that's something where we can help.
In terms of running events and those sorts of things, you've done some of that previously. Is that something you'll be continuing? Any ideas that you can share of the sort of events you might be running?
I think we've been planning a couple of sort of expo sort of networking events that but obviously this being a Drupal year, we need to give everybody a bit of a rest, so that's something we'll probably look at next year. And I think along with that, obviously we always talk about doing things like an awards event. It's still some way off for the association to run its own, but it is something that we would like to do, because I think that way all the good stays in the industry, and it's and I think as well, if you got recognition within the trade as opposed to an external, I think that carries a lot of weight, and I think people would be behind us if we were able to get something like that off the ground. But it takes time and it takes resource to do, and that's something that we're working on. It's all part, I suppose, of the vision of becoming more accessible and being useful. I'd like to think really an association should be useful. It's a tool that you pay money into. You should, should want to be able to use it and use the information that's there. And we're quite fortunate with some of the other directors that we've got. The knowledge base is good. So again, if we can do events where there's maybe a bit of networking and then some information sharing and things like this, I think they're all, positive things we can look to bring to the table next year.
We've run some small events with some of our trade partners and in talks with others to sort of do more of those this coming year. They're smaller little workshop type events, but looking at new materials, installation methods, best practices. So some of those will be at suppliers' premises, some of those will be online. But yeah, that's something else we look to do.
I think that must be a big part of what members can get from being part of the association, just the understanding of new products, new services, new techniques that come into the market that are relevant to them, to be able to provide the opportunity for them to go and learn in a cost-effective and straightforward way. I guess that's where you're aiming with the trade partners there particularly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, that sort of leads to the question that I was had along those lines, as well as supporting the industry and providing information. So, are you looking to promote yourselves maybe to the specifier market, the sort of your customers to a large extent that might be looking for something, but don't necessarily want to go to various suppliers? They might want to go to an independent association like yourselves. Do you do much of that?
So we do have a few members that aren't sign manufacturers or suppliers. They are people who specify. I think we would like to engage more with external people, because I think that drives, again, will drive the message home of a BSGA member being somebody you can rely on, and a, you can rely on the fact that they, as I said before, they're trained, they've got all the knowledge base, they've got access to the knowledge. That's the most important thing. You've got access to it. So I think, yes, it is, again, engaging with planning authorities. Most don't really come into contact with them on a day-to-day basis, but obviously things like gaining advertisement consent when you're putting for signage, things like this, we need to have that dialogue to sort of be able to share information with the planners, but also they need to be able to share that information back to us as to what they're acceptable, so that we don't get instances of people putting inappropriate things up that then cause problems with the authorities. So there's a lot of work to do in the next couple of years, and the change of name gives us a real good opportunity to refresh all that and push forward. So
good. Okay, well, I think a good way to maybe sort of summarize and to finish off with this is to say, if you're a sign maker that isn't a member or work in the industry and you're not a member, why should you join? What are the real strong benefits for why you should pick up the phone, go online and actually join the association?
I think as an industry, we're stronger if we're together. We're still seen as a somewhat of a cottage industry because we're made up of lots of smaller companies. So, if we all are together, we then have a stronger voice. So when we do run up against certain obstacles, whether that might be CITB and things like this, if there's more of us, we have more weight, and we're able to negotiate, we're able to engage better. And that way we're all working for the same thing, because you hear the same kind of issues from companies all up and down the country. So if we get members in, we can then start and deliver more of these group sort of networking opportunities, and knowledge base can increase, and we can then share that information. But as I say, we're much stronger together than we are as a group of individuals. So that's just my on it.
Yeah, the other thing members get are the obvious ones, like the use of the branding, so they can show that off to their client base through their their website, their vehicle graphics, their clothing, however they choose to display the logo, to show that they're proud to be part of the association. Also, it is still relevant within tender applications. That is a question that comes up quite a lot. Are you part of a trade association? And then there's all the sort of training and help and support that we're going to be pushing on with this year. So for me, that would be my sort of sales pitch to a potential member, is that we're here to help. Any issue you have, whatever it is, we're here to help. There's a member of our board, of our sort of wider community, that will know the answer to your problem and can help you. So that's what I would say.
Well, good stuff. I think so. If anyone is interested in signing up, joining up to the BSGA, all the information relevant is on the website, and I'm sure all the contact details for yourselves and others to get in touch.
Yeah.
So, thanks very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks,
You're welcome. Jack. Thank you, Jack.